Thanks, guys. Great stuff. Up next, the next member of the Brain Trust, Brendan Strain. We're talking with Kurt Allen, SVP of Vonage, and Scott Peterson, Chief Revenue Officer from Mitel. Take it away, Brendan.
So today we have Kurt and Scott with us from Vonage and Mitel, respectively. I'm really looking forward to this. Really appreciate you guys being on and having this chat and answering a few questions. So to kick us off, obviously 2020 has been an absolute roller coaster for us. Things come out of left field. This whole UC thing that we've been talking about for years really proved itself. This stuff does work. People can work from anywhere. So really one of the main things that I'm interested in, hearing your guys' perspective in is what did you really do to manage the curveballs from sort of a sales motion and a go-to-market motion? Did you guys do anything differently? Was it, kind of steady as usual? What was kind of the thought process, and what did you guys do to adapt?
Well, I'll take that one first, Scott, if you don't mind. But I'm sure there'll be some overlap there. But when something like this comes along, you have to kind of take it as it comes. Like technology can prepare you, but we're all inside salespeople this year. You can be ready. You can have all the tools. And this isn't the first time we've had a massive event that's kind of spurred on technology. Like this web conferencing platform we're on today, it was 20 years ago, I was running a wholesale conferencing company for Intercall, and 9/11 happened, and suddenly nobody could get on planes. And we at that time were jamming, WebEx and some really early iterations of web conferencing, down people's throats, and people weren't latching onto it and say, what do I need a video for? What do I need to see the person's face? I can just be on a call. Well, then it became necessitated by that tragedy, and those behaviors didn't disappear. We learn these behaviors and we come through. For me, the difference with this one was that a lot of the things that are happening were already in motion. There was already this digital transformation happening. There was already people moving to, hey, maybe I don't have to get on a plane every week, that I can use these tools and be more efficient. And I never replace a live meeting, but maybe I can do a lot of this from behind my computer. Maybe I can make my teams collaborate more. Maybe I get into environments where we're working on documents at the same time, and I don't have to get up and Scott doesn't have to leave his 7-year-old to go jump on a plane every week, just 3 out of 4 weeks. So I think we all adjusted. We all became inside salespeople, but you couldn't predict this. So fortunately, we work in an environment where we had technology where we were ready to adjust.
Yeah, I think Kurt said it well. I think the things I would add to that, and I'm sure he's experienced this also, is that unlike previous events, one, we were better prepared, right? The technology evolution had gotten us to a point where many of our customers and partners were ready to use that technology.
Absolutely.
But the big difference that we felt is that, the magnitude, first of all, of fear and panic was global. And so everybody you talked to from anywhere in the supply chain was impacted by the fear. And so, first and foremost, we had to make sure everyone felt comfortable and safe. And then we started thinking about, okay, how do we, put more tools and productivity tools in the hands of our partners and end user customers, of course. But, we were fortunate that the digital evolution had gotten to the point where it had, so it was an acceleration event and not one where we had to, turn to brand new technologies. Kurt's right about that.
And I'll tell you, just to add one thing to that, I'm going to, it lends into more what you guys do, Brandon, than what Scott and I do. But how about like a hand for the broadband providers? Like the broadband network has held up. You're just not hearing people complain. Like when we were all sitting on bad DSL, the kids would get home from school and your throughput would go through the floor. I mean, The broadband network has really stood up. It's been amazing.
Yeah, I would say we're definitely fortunate, if that's a term to use, to have it happen now versus 10 years ago, right? It's lucky, and then we're in an industry that we just so happen to be able to have all the tools and all the technology to just continue on, really like nothing happened. And I think our industry is one of the only ones that was able to do that.
All right.
So I guess that's a perfect intro into kind of my next question, and it's really around product, which, you actually said it good a minute ago, Kurt. You can work from anywhere, like in your Audi or, where your 7-year-old is. It doesn't matter. But, really from the product side of things, you guys both work for companies that are so good at innovating, continuing to innovate, doing different things with your product stack, and not just kind of going on with the status quo. So that said, have you guys made any big changes to kind of the roadmap, or because of anything that's happened, reprioritized or even started new product?
For us at Vonage, our bet has been on kind of owning that whole communication stack. So it's kind of servicing the things that the market brings to you, but then it's also the things that we never thought of. I'm old enough that Ted and I were running around selling hosted voice as a way to get out of your 20 cent a minute long distance charges, like the earliest iterations of VoIP. And you look at kind of the way that Mitel grew up, the way that Vonage grew up. We came from a residential alternative to international long distance solution. Mitel came as a PBX provider that worked into the software space. So it's this kind of imagining what the market needs, but also being ready and prepared to provide things we never thought of. If you told me 5 years ago, when I was a master agent selling Vonage, that they'd be the company you'd go to get secure video streams for telehealth solutions in the midst of a pandemic in 2020, I would have been like, that they're not the guys.
Right.
But Vonage, had the wherewithal and the forethought to make the deal for Nexmo, and so now you have this API solution. Contact center. Scott talked about contact center. It's not just these massive call centers. It's the companies who didn't think they had a contact center 6 months ago. They had hunt groups, and now they have a contact center need. So it's more of just this idea of communications isn't what we always thought it was. It's not just picking up the phone and connecting to this one and maybe adding a third person. It also isn't what we're seeing today. Like, it's whatever the next thing is. I mean, automated bots picking off 55% of first line calls for major providers, and seeing customer sat scores that are going up by 25% because those people don't have to talk to a human being. And if they ask their questions properly and can figure out how to get through these algorithms that improve every day, then they're going to have a better experience in a communications environment. That's not the UCaaS that we were selling 15, 20 years ago, not even 5 years ago. So, I mean, to me,
Absolutely.
the stack, the potentials, it's unbelievable. It's an exciting place to be.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you hit on one thing that is so close to my heart in talking about contact centers and customer environments, and that's APIs, right? I don't think I've talked to a customer in the last 5 years that one of the first things out of their mouth when talking about a contact center solution is, I need to integrate with X application. UCaaS conversations the same way. I need to integrate with Slack, or I need to integrate with this. And the other thing too is integrations mean something different to everybody. So I tell people that a lot is, well, make sure you understand what kind of integration they're looking for. Is this like a click to call? Is it a screen pop? So Kurt, really surrounding the Nexmo platform and CPaaS as a whole, I guess what's your thought on the whole CPaaS movement and how that's going to help us kind of progress to the next level?
Well, it's funny. It's obviously it's exciting for us because we got in kind of on the front end of that, but still it means different things to different people. So like you talked about some kind of typical SKUs in there, right? Like, is it kind of an omni-channel? I want to add text, SMS, or I want to be able to create a quick video link inside an application. Now, those are things you can almost make SKUs out of. We can productize those a little bit, but the promise of APIs and that whole CPaaS idea is the development side of it. So when we're talking to customers with sophisticated development teams that are just taking that Nexmo platform, the Vonage API platform, and using it to build whatever's next. They're developing apps inside their own environments to do things that none of us even thought of in and around the communication stack. So that's what I mean by it's, imagine it and it will happen. There's literally guys out there way smarter than I that are saying, why not inside of a communication stack? And the cool thing is we can, like, people can talk about 46 features, everyone does the same thing about UCaaS and this and that, and we've been talking about the death of voice as a market driver since I've been in the industry and since the early 90s. It's never going to happen, because the most important thing we still do in business and personally is this interaction. If we can't do it in person, then we're going to do it, either, by phone or by video. And the better we can do it and the more effectively we can do it, we add data and we add APIs and we add analytics and algorithms and all these things. And it's going to create an immersive experience, a communications experience, versus just kind of replicating, what we used to do. So that's my thing. Is sure, there are linear applications. The ones that you spoke of are really good ones inside the API world, and integrations are driving the business. We talk about embedding instead of integrating. It's absolutely huge. But what's more exciting, what keeps me coming back, is that it's the stuff we haven't even thought of yet, and it's all going to drive back to a communications layer.
Yep. Nope. That's awesome. And I mean, so Scott, this one, I guess, leads well to you in, the CX contact center platform. Kurt mentioned it, the apps, and, what are these applications that they're using, and, enabling people to really appify their contact center. I know your offering has the ability for people to go into a app store, and if they see something they like and want to plug into their contact center, that's like a one click. How do you see the app store impacting that sort of, philosophy that, Kurt was just mentioning?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, and it's a phenomenon that's similar to what we saw in the bigger market forces. The acceleration toward UCaaS and toward mobility and toward soft phones. It has also happened in application development and the criticality of application development. And one of the things that I don't think any of us ever would have predicted is that Mitel still has a fair number of customers who are on iron, right? Who still have PBXs in their offices. And we've been talking for a number of years now about, are you ready to move to cloud? Are you ready to, appify, cloudify your communication infrastructure? What we've found during the pandemic is that some of those customers who are not ready, have an investment there, are using an app integration story to be able to extend their functionality today. So they're actually finding new use cases and longevity of their PBX platform. Now, ultimately, are they all going to come to the cloud? Of course they are, right? That is a definite. That will happen over time. But who would have thought that they could actually find more productivity out of a 7-8-year-old PBX that's deployed by using more creative and more aggressive integration stories? And so that's been compelling for us. We've spent some of our R&D investment there, and then a lot of time partnering, with customers and partners, thinking about what the next set of those features should be. But that's been a phenomenon that coming into 2020, none of us would have ever expected. We'd be talking about application integrations, back into the PBX world. Yeah, no,
absolutely it. And I was actually just going to ask you about, your embedded base of customers that have, boxes. And, it's funny. One of the most common things I heard was, it's like, so have you thought about cloud? And, in the past couple months, and everybody goes, yeah, absolutely. Please. Yep. I've heard of it. What can you do for me? So, it's funny. The other thing you guys mentioned was, the problems that you haven't thought of yet. And I love that saying, and you talk to a customer all the time, right? And you go, well, the platform that you've got now versus what we're going to is you've got to think about all those issues, all those fundamental things you're trying to solve in a product, like getting a call to an agent, getting a chat message to an agent. But it's all those different things that you haven't thought of that you also need your platform to do. And I think both of you guys are in a great place to be able to cover a customer on both of those. CPaaS, App Store, things like that. So have you guys given any thought to some of those problems that I think a lot of customers may not have thought of that'll pop up? I know there's certain things that I've thought of in terms of, new applications that people are going to want to contact on. I mean, look at like TikTok, right? People literally communicate with that now, albeit a little bit weirdly, but, people communicate with that today. New applications pop up every week that people en masse use. Any thoughts on that and how people can extend?
Well, I think that it goes back even further than the application. I think it's the way the sale has changed. That UCaaS came along to replace PBXs. Centrex was cloud PBX, right? That was, we took the features, we put them somewhere else. So like and so what happened was, in the partner channel was guilty of this too. that we, for so long, just replaced PBX functionality. We said, how do we replicate this? And a successful deployment was we replicated exactly what their PBX did. We just annuitized that. And so it was more of a CFO play as we get into 2008, that type of range. Now, the reason it's exciting is the conversations are fewer and far between where they're about, hey, replicate my PBX. And one of the reasons at Vonage, where we're betting so heavily on channel, is we don't want that conversation. We don't shine there, and we think it's a mistake by the customer. So the cool thing, and COVID's accelerated this, is the conversations are no longer about how do I replace this archaic PBX. And don't get me wrong, we're selling API deals that are extending the life of a PBX, but it's to get someone somewhere so that they can get to a point where they migrate. But now the partner community is in there saying, let's not replicate what you have. Let's think about what you might be able to do. Let's get your chief marketing officer in here. Let's make sure that the sales leaders are in here. Let's have technology and business development and marketing and these things come together to talk about what could be, because the use cases are out there now. You can talk about the things that companies are doing, and not even huge companies. The beauty of the cloud is that small firms have access to the same technology in a fractional basis because we've annuitized it. There's not this massive capital outlay. So even if you don't have 700 developers that can work on an API platform, there's enough of this skewed productized things, use cases out there that you can assemble cutting edge solutions. Again, I'm going to be a broken record player, that all stem from this communication stack.
You both mentioned in such perfect way that channel is this huge driver for business and innovation and kind of pushing everything forward. And of course, we love working with you guys. The channel organization loves working with you guys. With that, I guess, what can our partners do to take advantage more of us as a master, you guys as a service provider and a partner, a true partner, not just a service provider vendor. We're just going to get some phone lines from these guys. We're going to get some seats from these guys. What can you guys do to help the partner out and really monetize this conversation that we've had today and really do a little bit more to embed themselves in their customers' base?
We are exclusively going to market through a channel. We are not going to compete against our channel partners who are out there in the industry. So, we're committed to this. This is our growth engine. This is the future of our company. I think the differentiator among agents is going to be those who have great selling skills and have the ability to listen to what their customer needs are. I think there are a number of agents out there that want to provide leads to us and get compensation back for it, and that's great. For a big percentage of the market conditions, fantastic. I think the people who are really going to excel, the people that'll be on stage with you all, at next quarter's event, next year's event, et cetera, are going to be those who are deeply committed to listening to their customer needs and solving for a business need versus a bandwidth need, a communication need, or even a CCaaS or application need. So I know that's a little bit of motherhood and apple pie and fundamentals and always move the runner, but those things matter, and I think they particularly matter in tough economic times. And I think it's a real opportunity for a number of your agents to differentiate themselves in a really crowded marketplace.
Talking about the fit, what do you guys think is your best fit? There's we talked a little bit about the specific customers that are great fits. What do you guys like to see in deals? And is there something that the partner should target? To really look at you guys or anything specific?
For us at Vonage, it's still, we service the market from a UCaaS perspective. We're actually going to automate kind of zero touch micro, make it simple for, PlanetOne will have a shopping cart for small numbers of seats and not long to buy Vonage that way. And so we're not running away from those legacy roots, but by rolling out Vonage International and World Office and things like, getting the global reach, that allows us to move further and further up the stack. So certainly all the way up into enterprise on the UCaaS layer. But on the CCaaS side, we've made a bet. If integrations aren't important to you in contact center, then you can probably get to some of the things we do in an easier fashion. But if your contact center needs to be deeply embedded with the likes of ServiceNow, Microsoft Dynamics, Microsoft Teams, certainly Salesforce, our deep and long integration there, going back to the New Voice Media days. If you have customers that are talking integrations out, then that's kind of the 0-point bullseye for us. Like, we just feel like we can't lose there. And if they're having those conversations, then that's where we belong. Now, in contact center, we're not going to, we're not going to compete on 40,000 seat call centers. There's folks that operate in that space, but you get up into the kind of lower end of enterprise, and certainly all the way through mid markets. You definitely should be looking at us in that space, especially again when integrations are key.
Perfect.
Yeah, and we think of our sweet spot in the market as right in that mid-market, mid-market companies around the globe. We want to be the best communication provider, provide the most reliable communication services to mid-market businesses. In terms of what that means to us, in some geographies around the world, that's 50 to 100 seat companies, and up from there. In other markets, it's more 1 to 200 seats, up to 1,000 seat customers. Now, of course, we've got some really prominent, well-known deployments where we've got 30 and 40,000 seats. We will also continue to compete, at the small business segment. But I think all of us in the industry are starting to see a bit of, arbitrage and a lot of price compression, and that gets really cutthroat down market. I think where we win, and we are seeing, phenomenal win rates, close rates, is in the mid-market space, and so that's where we'll continue to be. When you see us move beyond that space, it's for a specific reason, and there's a specific use case that we think we've got a shot to win. But other than that, we're going to be pretty focused on what we do well.
No, that's perfect. Really, last question, and this one goes to Kurt a little bit more. But when you buy an Audi with the communications and technology package, does it make a good place to video conference?
Well, we did pull it off today, but I'm actually gonna critique Audi here. The Audi console isn't, you can't like integrate Waze with it like you can with some of the others. Like, I get in rent cars, I'm in a Ford, and I can throw Waze up on there, but Audi makes you go Google Maps. But it does have built-in Wi-Fi, so I'll give them their props on that.
All right. No.
I think that the takeaway from that would be, Kurt's got first world problems. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Leave it at that.
You guys have been awesome. This has been such a fun conversation, and I don't know if you noticed, but I was jotting down a bunch of stuff you guys said. I mean, great stuff. So again, really appreciate you guys spending the time. I mean, Kurt, I know you guys are dealing with zero power, so thanks for taking it in your car. And Scott, I'm glad that you didn't have to hit anybody during this conversation. Yeah, no, like I said, you guys are great. We really appreciate it. We love working with you guys, and thanks again.
Thanks to PlanetOne. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone at PlanetOne. Have a great event, everyone.
Thank you, guys.